Hey guys, and welcome to the third PvP, and this is going to be probably 3 of 5 in the PvP department until we move on to the next matchup. So I am, actually this is not me, we got Ep.3 in the bottom left, and in the top right it's me, Primetime. It's me, Mario. Sorry. And once again we're going to have that same sort of build. And I'm not going to tell you who wins this game because, although I will be casting a lot of the games I win, simply because I just want to show you when I execute well. Although I would like to show some games where you can see some mistakes I make and how to avoid making those mistakes. But regardless, another PvP. Today it's on Ohana? No. The last map was Ohana. This is, I don't even know what this map is. I completely forgot. I'm having a brain fart. I'm sorry. I have not been mentioning the map names, which I just realized. So I apologize for that, and I don't know what this map is called. Core Hall Compound, I think. Is that what it is? Core Hall Compound? I think so. Anyway, forget about that. So this game, once again, my scouting worker came out a little bit late this game, but he is not cheesing me, so it's not going to matter at all. And when I say late, I mean later than what I like to do. And it looks like he hid his scouting worker, which I guess was pretty smart. Or no, he's going to be scouting for pylons, okay. Or anything, I guess. Anyway, so one gas coming up for Ep.3. For me, once again, I'm waiting until 16, throwing down the double gas. And the second pylon coming up just before that. And I'm going to speed this along a little bit. But there was something I wanted to mention, I forgot now. But oh well, I'll just go over this. In Ep.3's main base, you can see he's saving up. Actually, he's not really saving up any Chrono Boost. I was going to say he's saving up quite a bit, but he's not at all. But he does have no second gas, so I'm really concerned about this. So I'm just going to be patrolling back and forth with my probe. In the meantime, once again, Sentry, Warp Gate research, and yeah. So I'm just going to keep on scouting back and forth. I don't see the second gas yet, so this really worries me. Except if you look on the units tab, and this is something else you can check for, if he has a lot of saturation here, you're typically not going to get 4-gated because you just, as Protoss, if you're going to do the 4-gate, obviously, you have to be Protoss to do a 4-gate, you want to get about 16 workers getting minerals, and then just one gas, so... Enough of that though. I threw in the 2 gateways, the 2 additional warp gates before the Robo, and then I will be getting a Twilight. I did think he was going to 4-gate me, so I went ahead and built 3 sentries this time. And this is a simple response to seeing a 4-gate coming, because you'll just have tons of force fields to allow yourself to get out as many stalkers as you need. And like I said, typically last game, I like to get those 3 zealots after the sentries, but this time I think I'm going to be pressured, so I go ahead and build stalkers. Doesn't matter too much, and you'll see why in a second. He's going to go ahead and scout with the Stalker. I saw this coming. I did not throw down a force field, and I should have. I should have tried to trap him on the ramp, but anyway. Let's slow this down before I forget to. And now, I thought he was going to pressure me, but the late gas was only because he wanted to do a 3-gate expo. And I still do not know this expo is up. And if you look at the time right now, this expo has been up for a while. And I am nowhere near ready to build mine. Now, I did have a bit of a misclick with the Observer, so I was unable to kill his Observer, and I don't believe he's really seen anything. Yeah, he's seen the Robo and 3 Warp Gates, but that doesn't tell him a whole lot. He's probably thinking that he's going to be getting a 1-base Colossus push on his hands. But down goes my probe to build the Nexus at the 15-minute mark. The 8 and 9-minute mark is about the time when you want to throw down your Nexus. And the reason this is early is because instead of getting those 3 early Zealots, I went ahead and just got the Nexus earlier. And you know what? Honestly, I think the better... his Observer goes down right there. I think the better build order is to skip those 3 Zealots, and you'll see why in a second. Actually, I did get those Zealots. Alright, I take that back. I got them about the same time as the Nexus. I would personally say skip the Zealots and just get an earlier Nexus around the 8-minute mark instead of the 9-minute mark. But Anyway, my Nexus is still way behind. His Robotech is actually not up yet. Okay, I thought he had a Robobay. Apparently not. He's going to go Twilight Tech this game with 6 Warp Gates. He sees everything that's coming because of this Zealot. I did pick off his Stalker at this tower, and I'm going to kill the Zealot as well. My Warp Prism with the classic 3 Zealots in 1 Sentry are just going to be chilling here. And I'm going to be pushing up with my Blink Stalkers and a couple Sentries. Now, this is a pretty weak force, so don't just forget about them, because they will get picked off very quickly by really any amount of Immortals. Throwing down the Proxy Pylons way too late. That's a mistake you definitely want to avoid. And just now getting my Expo saturated somewhat. My Robobay is actually going to be earlier than his. Wow. That's something you won't usually get, but because of his extremely early Nexus, that's just what happens. I barely saved that 1 Stalker, should have blinked that back earlier. And despite this engagement right here, I have yet to move into Warp Prism. And the reason for that is he still has these units close by to his mineral line. I lose 1 Stalker there, a bit of miscontrol. Force field, and the engagement at the front door just to distract him, really. That's the only point of that. He tried to just click away randomly. 1 last force field there. Typically you only have 3 force fields. This time I had 4 at my disposal, but it didn't matter. I'm going to fly away anyway. 1 quick tip, which I've never yet to take advantage of. I'm just going to like clap to myself when I actually can do this. But if you're playing versus a Terran player, and in my Terran build I do use Warp Prism with the same exact drop, if he lifts his command center off because he can't get his workers out, and you have the force field, put the force field down underneath where the command center is going to try to land, because it will actually block that landing path. So I really want to do that, but I have yet to get the chance. Anyway, back to this game. I do have my Nexus coming up. You do want to get early gas. You don't want to just like Nexus done, put down 2 gas. You want to get some workers here, but then get the double gas, because you're going to want to get a double robo as soon as possible. And once again, I said, like, if you don't really have a ton of gas built up, you can afford to delay this upgrade, the Thermal Lance, that is. Now, he had units up here to block off for a Warp Prism attack, so I took advantage of that, threw down a force field here so I could kill all of his frontal units. And now, when you see a ton of Zealots coming out, you can sort of assume one of 2 things, I would say. Either he's going for charge lots, or he's going to be getting some Colossus up. And right now he's actually doing neither of those, but I do believe he gets charge lots eventually. So, and obviously, like 99% of Protoss players in PvP are going to get Colossus, but what I mean by he's going to try to get Colossus up, I mean by like either double robo, or he, actually, I mean, maybe both. Maybe like 1 robo in charge, or double robo. Anyway, so that's just a quick tip to look out for. My saturation right now, if you look at the units tab, I am behind in probes, and I've been mining for way less time. And actually, I forgot the hotkey, but if we look at spending, in the army department, I have spent less. In technology, about the same. Economy, I spent less. So in the macro game, I'm behind, but if we look at units lost, he's lost about 1,000 more resources than me. And that is something you pretty much have to do when you're doing this sort of build order with a delayed Nexus, since he went for an early Nexus. So one of the worst case scenarios when you do this build is if your opponent goes for an early Nexus, because you're not planning on doing like a rush with a 4-gate, or with cheese with a 2-gate proxy, or anything like that. Finally caught up in the worker count, but again, I've been behind mining resources this whole game. And if you look at the army something, where is it? Sorry about this, I forgot. Okay, I knew it was an A. I know what army stands for, I promise. Or starts with. Army supply, he's way ahead, but I'm going to go ahead and push out anyway, because I feel like I have a good Colossus count going. Big miss micro here. I should have pulled the Colossus back as well, but I thought it was just dead anyway. I'm going to continue to push forward with these units. Luckily, I saved that 1 Colossus. And that was a pretty bad push right there. That was pretty bad. He forgot about this Warp Prism, by the way. He had a Warp Prism in my base, which could have done some damage, but he just forgot about it, so I'm able to pick that off pretty easily. In the upgrade front, this was a pretty delayed forge, but I'll have plenty of chronos to use on the Colossus and forges. And the reason I'm not able to really produce off these 3 tech buildings right here is because I did not get early enough double gas, so something to keep in mind. And this pylon right here is going to spot this pylon, which sort of tells me that he's going to go for an expansion. And you can see that I'm nowhere near ready to expand, but that's okay for now. This is something I don't feel is a good idea. I think he should have sent a couple stalkers here, and I'll show you why. This is 200 free minerals I'm going to get here, and he does kill the pylon, I guess, but 2 zealots dead, and guess what? They lead me right to his pylon. So he lost 300 resources, I lost 100. If that was me, I would send in a couple stalkers, that way I can retreat if I need to, because he does have blink researched, I believe. Yeah, there it is. He did go for charge lots, like I said, and that's a lot of zealots. When you're going against Colossus, you really only want a few zealots, because your zealots will just how it works is they'll clump together quite a bit. By the way, I'm going to go ahead and expand pretty late, as usual. The third expo, once you have like 4 Colossus out, go ahead and take that expo, because that's a lot of Colossus in this matchup at this stage in the game. And if we look at the units tab, I am ahead by 1 in the Colossus count, which is pretty huge actually. Continuing to produce off these double robos, and I want to push when I got +1 upgrade just because I figured that would be a cool timing, or something like that. But like I said before, my third is just about a minute behind, if not more. This map is really tough to take the third on though, because this high ground is just awful to play against. You can see I got my Colossus up here for protection. If he wants to swoop down here, I can run back, Colossus get a bunch of shots on. If he wants to come up here, I can blink back up, and then just play from there. I leave the Nexus alive, probably a mistake, but I figure I can finish that off pretty easily later on. Now, one key thing with microing these against stalkers is you want to keep your units spread out. Now, in this case, I sort of messed up a little bit. I'd let my Colossus go here while he's chasing down my units over here. But even against stalkers, zealots are just not the greatest, because you can blink away and separate your army so that his charge lots won't be able to really effectively kill your stalkers. Now, he was able to push that force back, and he's going to go for a little counterattack with these charge lots. If I had this saturated, this attack might be a little bit better, but I did have 2 stalkers here for a warp prism, but that never came. Instead, some zealots came, and he has a bunch of proxy pylons. Okay, he only has 2 proxy pylons. I have none though, so you still do want a couple pylons spread across the map, because it's just a good thing to do in case you ever need to reinforce, in case your army is at that location. If you look at my follow-up, still producing off 2 robos and 3 gateways. So very low production, but believe it or not, Colossus costs a lot of money, so that's all I could afford at the moment, because my Nexus at the third was delayed by a decent amount, at least compared to his. Sorry, I need to take a drink for a second. There goes the transfer from the main base, like I said last game. And now, one transition, which is very common in PvP in this late game scenario, is to go ahead and get Archons, because they can just soak up a lot of damage when you're facing against Colossus. And you can see my opponent has wisely gone ahead and built Archons. Because my gas were delayed at the third, you can see I'm still not mining, even though this thing's been up forever. So yeah, because of this, I was not able to afford Archons at the moment. Instead, I just wanted to keep on making Colossus. Now, I will note, one transition that I like to go to is Warp Prism drops. With just 1 Warp Prism with 2 Immortals, you can do a lot of damage with that, if your control is good enough. And we will see what happens in this game, but I would recommend getting a couple Archons and also getting 2 Immortals with a Warp Prism. Now, if you have money to expend, because your third Nexus was early or something like that, it's not a bad idea to throw down a 3rd Robo. Actually, I don't know about that. I was going to say get a 3rd Robo, that way you can really go all out with the Immortal drops. You can even get like 2 Warp Prisms going. Because if you just keep on building Immortals out of just 2 Robos, it's going to be taking away from your Colossus count too much. And if we look at that Colossus count, we will see that I am ahead by 2. Now, at this point of the game, a lot of the army is about Colossus count. He does have Archon advantage, which is pretty big. So the Colossus count is pretty big, but when you get into like the extremely late game in PvP, it's good to have a Mothership, it's good to have Archons, it's good to have, even, you can go for like a Death Ball with Colossus, Void Ray, Mothership. So only having Colossus tech will not do you all too great in the really late game if your opponent decides to tech to the right path. By the way, I completely expected this to happen. I'm not just joking about this either. I figured, I saw this pylon with my Warp Prism, which if he was paying attention, he would have seen that on the minimap. So I figured if I send 2 Zealots over to kill it, that would be fine. And like I said before, you should send Stalkers. So I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, so I just want to clear this up. I figured if he was going to send his army in here to kill this, I could be in position to kill his army. Instead, what he does is warp in a bunch of Zealots to kill the pylon, which then get run over by my army. So he's gonna scout out this Nexus not being there, and he's also gonna get a little bit of harassment done over here. Nothing major happens. Instead, I'm going to show you the little Immortal drop. Now, I had a bit of a miss micro. I did 300 damage to his Twilight Council, which should have been inflicted onto these pylons. But I still got out of there with the 2 Immortals alive, and you can afford to take damage with the Immortals. Because a lot of the times, it's not about how much health your Immortals have, it's about the position of your opponent's army. And I juke him out a little bit here. He should have been separating his army a little bit, but nevertheless, I bring my Warp Prism up here just to come right back to the spot. And I figured that these 2 pylons are probably powering most of these buildings, so I'm going to go ahead and drop in here, kill the pylon, and I should have gone for that pylon. That would have been a great idea, because he had 2 Arctosis pylons going down, if that even makes sense, I don't know. Killed Colossus, which was completely just by pure luck, pure coincidence. I do have 2 Stalkers here to sort of scout around, and my Immortal's still being pests in his base. 4 kills on this one, and they're going to get another one. He warped in 1 Zealot to deal with these. I don't know why he didn't warp more. I'm assuming because his gateways were on cooldown. Nevertheless, you can see my 2 Stalkers got picked off, I believe. Oh no, I sent them up here. Okay. But my army is now getting positioned. A horde of Colossus are coming out right now. So I'm just going to pause this for a second. If we look at the units tab, I have 6 more Colossus than him. That is ridiculous. I did not realize that. More Zealots, less Stalkers, and in this fight, I'm not going to have those 2 Immortals. He's going to have 1, or... Wait. Okay. Sorry, I'm not losing my mind here. Okay, I have 6 more Colossus, 8 more Stalkers, way less Zealots, and no Archons. So these 9 Archons, we'll see how effective they are coming up here. Still producing off these 2 Robos. At this point in the game, I should have teched. I had a ton of money. Holy crap. Oh my god. My macro was not the best this game, but that is why he... that cost him in this game, I guess. That was a mistake. My 4th base still not coming up yet. You can see he's mined almost nothing at his 4th, but still that 4th needs to come up sooner. And he is wisely keeping us out there. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and look at this upcoming fight that is inevitably going to happen. I see his army's out of position over here, so I'm going to go ahead and try to do some damage into his natural. Figure out, kill some tech or whatnot. I have a great concave here, but no units to take the damage from the Colossus, so... My 10 Colossus quickly become 9. His Archons, though, likely as well, have a very bad position and have to slowly move their way on up. You need to spread these Colossus out in these sort of fights. These should have been, have a gap between each and every one of them. Because I didn't do that, and because my army got split off quite a bit, he was able to kill me very easily in that battle. If we look at, and by the way, my Immortal's still over here, killing stuff, but they finally go down. But they eliminated this entire section of the base, so a lot of damage dealt there. My 2 Stalkers just chilling over here, I guess. And he's going to do a counter push because he knows he crushed me in that fight, but his macro is just awful. I did not watch this replay before casting this, and maybe I should have because his macro is just not good at all. Now, this does partly have to do with the fact that I unpowered his buildings, I killed all his pylons, I have sort of messed with his playstyle by just pushing every which way I want to. But still, that macro is inexcusable. Upgrades wise, he's probably going to be ahead in the upgrade count. Actually, he's not. I have 2 on 1, he has 2 00. getting a second forge would be a good idea, and actually I went ahead and did that, now that I think about it. So back to the game, my 4th base is finally coming up, so he has about 300 mined out of every mineral patch, as well as about 200 out of the gas geysers, or about 500 in total, because there was like 250 out of each. So I finally make a switch into Archons, although, there it is, nope, that's Stargate. I'm getting the Stargate because I figure a mothership would be good, just in case it goes into like the really late game, and I can afford it after I get this 4th base up. But right now, it looks like he is way outnumbering me in this battle. A few reinforcements streaming forward, and my Colossus position not the best, so I'm going to go ahead and try to spread them out as best I can. A little bit of a misclick from there for him. He tried to target fire that Colossus with all his Stalkers, and that cost him quite a bit. My Stalkers are clumping up a bit, so instead of trying to blink them to separate them, I go ahead and blink them forward. And a few of his Archons get split off to my 4th base, so I warp in some Stalkers to kill them, and I spread them out as much as I could to negate the splash damage from the Archons, and somehow holding that push off, and now I am actually in the supply lead. But I desperately need to saturate that 4th base. And he's going to see my transfer coming down right now. A few Zealots just coming in here for the harassment. I'm just going to warp in a few Zealots of my own. Tons of Archons coming down for him. I'm surprised he decided to spend his gas on that many Archons. I would figure just getting a lot of Colossus out would be a good idea. Or anything besides mass Archon. So now the upgrade coming is at 222, and not only did he not get a second forge, but I did kill his first forge, and that has since then never been rebuilt. This 4th base finally being saturated, a couple extra on that gas geyser. They're just there for the supervision, and of course that's a joke, sorry. And once again, I'm just going to gear up to try to do more Immortal Harass, and his army is now pushing out because he feels like he's got an advantage, and he would be right in the food supply. And if we look at that army supply, he's way ahead. So he's going to push towards my 4th base, which is a good idea, since if he can deny this 4th base, he basically wins the game. And focusing down the pylon, not a big deal there. And now this is where it gets tricky for him. He wants to fall back. Instead, what ends up happening is his army gets split up like a ton. And my Colossus are doing maximum damage. These Archons are killing just fodder units that don't really matter. And spreading out the Stalkers again. This isn't necessarily because doing this will counter charge lots. It's to buy you time to get your rest of your army in position. And after that fight, it looks like I've regained the supply lead, but this 4th base has been taking quite a few hits from that Zealot pressure that he just brought. I did make a couple observers because I wanted to make sure I didn't get caught off guard by DTs, but I forgot to actually move them to the right position. I do have a fleet beacon up, so we'll see if I end up getting a mothership. His 5th base is now coming down. My 4th base still not saturated after that last fight. And it looks like I'm going to go ahead and make a counter push because I know I came out on top after that fight. No minerals, though, for me, so I really should probably be getting some Archons here. And I don't actually remember if I do so or not. I most likely did make Archons, I just can't remember. Again, you need proxy pylons. I could use this Warp Prism, but I think I wanted to use it for something else. I'm about to see right now what happens. Now, I would like to have Immortals in that Warp Prism, like I am bringing them right now. But I see these pylons here, so I figure I'll go kill them. What ends up happening, though, is he tries to respond to take those out. My Colossus doing a ton of splash damage for now, but these Zealots just completely getting surrounded on that one Colossus. Stalker Micro is non-existent, so that's something that needs to be improved if you ever get caught in these situations. Now, he did manage to kill about a third of my army, but I kept my important units alive, which were the Colossus. And so I'm going to push forward with 3 Colossus versus his 2. And that was a mistake, actually. That was not really that smart. But I fall back to the reinforcing Stalkers. And in these low unit situations, when you have a double robo, or when you have units that have to be rallied and not warped in, you don't really want to just continue pushing because you will get outnumbered and you will go, and their defensive advantage will kick in for your opponent. Looks like I finally saturated the 4th base, but he has his own 5th up and running right now. And I believe I just saw Archons being made for myself. Only 2. I don't really know what I spent that gas on. Still yet to get a mothership, but it's probably just these double Colossus that cost so much resources. Looks like I've gotten all the upgrades I want. The third shield upgrade is something you really don't even want to get in this matchup because gas is just such a necessity to have. And 300 is quite a bit to use for that one upgrade. And I'm starting to lose my voice here. If you look at the production tab, just more Colossus for me. And I'm going to go ahead and make another push because I don't know this fifth base is here, but if it is here, I need to kill it. And I know that. So I'm behind as it is with this expo by quite a bit. So I felt like I needed to deny this if possible. Now, his decision to go ahead and counter this base was actually pretty smart because his resources here were getting pretty low, and I don't know, he was just closer to that expo than he was to to defend his own fourth, or fifth, I should say. So I warped in a few stalkers to buy me some time, but he blinks right on top of them, so I have to retreat back. They do pull this big chunk of his army back. He should be focusing this Nexus down, but regardless, he's killing a bunch of probes. Now my units are finally getting back from the fifth base, and he's going to walk himself right into a corner here. Now, he does have a huge supply lead, but that is quickly evaporating as those stalkers get too far ahead. A ton of Colossus out for myself. The count right now is 8-5, but because he doesn't have his all of his units here, they're just going to get slaughtered right there. And now I've finally taken a big supply lead. So I took down his fifth. I could never get my own fifth up. But as of right now, I'm actually in the expo lead since I have a lot of resources left here. And I'm not saying that's something you should plan to do is not expand when you can, because my expos were very late in this game. But nevertheless, I'm going to try to take that fifth base when I can. But because I knew I won that last fight, I'm just going to go ahead and push forward, and my huge Colossus count is going to just overwhelm his army, and that looks like it's going to be it for this game. So a GG will be coming out shortly from Obamatoss. So, a little bit of a recap, and a little bit is exactly what I mean because I just don't have my voice left anymore. Two big mistakes out of Obamatoss were simply not macroing well, and this push right here, getting himself stuck in this corner. What he could have done is pick this off and maybe run away. That's sort of debatable, though. Anyway, so basically, this build relies upon doing damage with your opening Blink Stalker Warp Prism move. And it's very easy to do damage with that because of the mobility you have with those units and the force fields that you have at your disposal. But to follow that up, you'll have a Nexus finish by the time that attack is over with. And also, you want to get your 2 robos up, your second robo, and this up as soon as you can afford it. And a lot of this build really relies on good gas timing. You get the early gas at your first base. You want to get these 2 gas up pretty soon. Maybe when you have like 10 workers here, get down these 2 gas. When you get your third, my 2 gas were delayed this game, and all of that delay in gas here and here basically meant, and I believe these were delayed a little bit too, that basically meant that I couldn't afford any Archons, and you do want to get a few Archons. You don't want to get 10 like we saw Obamatoss do, but you do want anywhere from, I don't know, 2 to 5 maybe. And also a Mothership late game is good if you can afford it. And if you're on 4 or 5 base and pretty good timing, you should be able to afford a Mothership. Getting a Mothership on 3 bases is kind of tough, but it just depends how the game is going, I guess. But anyway, we saw a lot of back and forth action, and in this build, you basically rely on the Colossus count. So my upgrades also, I think, were far superior. So that was a big undoing for our opponent. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching. My voice is about to be non-existent soon, so that's all for this video. I will have 2 more PvPs coming up, and they will be a different build order. So yes, I'm not just I'm not just somebody who just does one build the same exact like every game. Anyway, I can't talk anymore, so this is Prime Time signing out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next couple of videos.